Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you're tuning in and watching us here on the AARP North Carolina YouTube channel. This Fraudcast is especially inspired for people 50 plus who are living in apartments. And we know that people living in apartments face unique and different challenges perhaps than some of us living in the community, living in a house. So we wanted to address those, but also talk about some of the frauds that we are all susceptible to. I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to Vanderbilt Apartments and Battery Park Apartments who have inspired this event. And we hope that you are with us, watching us right now, and that this is coming through because this is much ado about you. So some of the challenges that we know already happen to people who living in apartments are, for example, a high turnover rate, which can lead to the receipt of mail which is not yours, which can lead to some confusion. Shared Wi-Fi can sometimes cause an issue and can lead to confidentiality breaches, or just the nature of living in community and sharing personal information with neighbors. And just like the game of telephone, sometimes information gets passed on that we don't expect. So I'd like to start this broadcast with a conversation with Gretchen Batra, our Fraud Watch lead in the Mountain region. And I want to let you know you can all feel free to type in the comments at any time if you have a question or a comment. So Gretchen, let's just move you up top here and share with me a little bit about why people over 50, older adults, are susceptible to frauds and scams.
I know. You think, well, we're really nice people, and how does this happen? But the fraudsters are extremely clever, and they share information with each other and also issues about older adults. So there's a lot of different reasons, but some of them are we might have a hearing issue, and therefore it's sometimes confusing when people talk to you, or they talk really fast in order to confuse you, or you might have a visual impairment. And unfortunately, some people do have memory issues, and boy, they really get victimized because they don't quite get what people are saying. Let's see, there's other reasons. We are nice. We tend to be nice. We tend to be polite. We're trying to teach people don't answer the phone, but they're worried that it might be their grandchild or something, but don't answer the phone and then call the person back because they're going to leave a message. Just as a sideline, they're going to leave a message if they really want to talk to you. Let's see, other kinds of things. We get lonely sometimes, and so it's so nice to, especially on the phone, to get a voice. And the fraudsters want to engage you, and they want to get information, so they're going to have a really friendly chat. And then again, fraud and scam has really increased. Believe it or not, it's hard to imagine there could be more than there was before, but because of the virus. And so they know we're home, and that enables them to check in easier. And all of us, it doesn't matter what age you are, we are all potential victims. So I always say, please share this information with friends and family, because you can help each other out and work together to help prevent a lot of this fraud. So I say, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. And so that's one of the things. So there's probably a lot of other reasons that we haven't enumerated, but at least that gives you an idea of the potential reasons that we get victimized.
Thank you, Gretchen. That's great. And excuse my little technical difficulty. The voting banner popped up, and I didn't mean for that to happen, but here we are. And you mentioned sharing, the sharing of information. And that immediately brings to mind Facebook, because a lot of Facebook is about sharing. And so we're going to talk with Vic a little bit about Facebook-related fraud. There are a few ways that fraudsters can get to people through Facebook. And the first one I'd like to discuss is Facebook cloning. Can you tell us a little bit about Facebook cloning, Vic, how to avoid it?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Facebook cloning is where another person has established another account, a separate account in your name with your details and your picture. So it's as if there are two of you on Facebook.
Okay, so I think I've had this happen before where,
Me too.
yeah, and I've gotten an email from someone saying, "Are there two of you online? Why did I get a friend request?" And thank
Right.
goodness they alerted me to it. So, what does one do to avoid Facebook cloning? Can we avoid it?
Yeah, you can avoid it by looking for a duplicate of yourself just by going into Facebook and doing your name search. You can even do that on
Hmm.
Google, but it's easier to just look on, there's that little magnifying glass that's down at the bottom. Then you can click on that and type in your own name. And if more than one appear, then there's a chance that you've been cloned. Another thing that you can do is people who try to clone your account will attempt to contact your friends from your friends list. So tell your friends, and this is good for you to know too, that if you're already with friends with somebody on Facebook and then you get a new friend request, then that's probably a clone trying to make its way into that network. So just, and it's hard to remember. I know some of us have hundreds and hundreds of friends, which is great. But if it's somebody that you're familiar with already on Facebook and you're getting a new friend request for them, that should set off little alarm bells.
Great point. So, what do
Yeah.
you do if you find out you have been cloned, and
If
what
you
are the risks involved?
Well, I know there's risks involved because people posing as you will do, as Gretchen was talking about, all kinds of things to
Mm,
try and get money from you. A lot of times it's through sympathy. They'll request something as an emergency, um, and they'll really kind of pull on your emotions and tug at your heartstrings. And you think that this is your friend who you will do things for. So it's important to be super cautious about that. But once you've discovered it, you can report it to Facebook. And it's a pretty straightforward way to do that. You go to the account that is posing as you. Make sure it's the one that is the false one, the not the one that you've been tending all this time, but the one that looks like your account. And then if you go over into the um, three dots, which look like this. I made a little graphic. You see these three dots? Those three dots will be right underneath the picture of you. And it'll say, you can click on those three dots and it'll say, um, choose report this page. And you can report it. And then Facebook gives you reasons to report it. And you can say, it's a duplicate or this is a false, this is a clone page. So the first thing to do would be to report it because then Facebook can take it down. And
that's great to know.
right. And then the next thing is to contact your friends, preferably by some other means, like call them up on the phone or send them all an email saying, my Facebook account has been compromised. There are two of me out there. Please do not accept any friend requests from me that I haven't sent, which I haven't sent. So just make your friends aware that they shouldn't respond to friend requests from you. That's
Great.
also really helpful. Yeah. And then the
Very
very
thorough.
last thing, if you let me throw that in there, and it can, people can get intimidated about all these things, but if you look in your settings page, and it depends on whether you're logged in on the web browser or if you're using your Facebook app, it can be in different places. But this is the three lines like this is where you can find your settings. So on the app, it's at the very bottom, right? And on the login page, if you're on a web browser in Facebook, it's on the upper right. So just look for these three little lines and click on them. And then there's a pull down menu that says settings. Click on that and then look for something called, I think it's called how people can find and contact you.
Hmm.
It's a header, and then you can choose to who gets to see your friends list, and that can be really helpful too because you can shut off having other people be able to access your friends list And that just nips it in the bud. Then they can't see who your friends are, and it's all, it's a much safer way to do it.
I didn't even know that you could do it. Thank you for letting us know
Yeah,
about that.
sure. Yes.
I hear about Facebook hacking too all the time. So, what's the difference between Facebook cloning and Facebook hacking?
Yeah, the difference is mainly that with cloning, someone has created another account with your name, and there are two separate accounts that are claiming to be you. Facebook hacking is when someone gains access to your authentic Facebook profile and account without creating another one. So it's essentially there behind the scenes working your actual profile as if they were you. And so it's a little bit harder to tell if you've been hacked because there's not two, different accounts there. So it's just one. But I can give you some tips on how to tell if you've been hacked.
Great.
So you do the same thing. You go to that settings page I was telling you about, which is, again, under those three lines. And you scroll down to the security and login page. And that's in that list right there. And as soon as you access that security and login page, there'll be at the top of the page, it'll say where you're logged in. And then there'll be a list. And sometimes you have to click see more to see the whole list, but it'll give you the top 2 or 3 places where Facebook has recorded that you have been logged in on this device. So some of us only have one device, and that makes it kind of simple and easy. You can just see, oh, this is my iPad, or yes, this is my phone. It'll even give you the location, like, wherever it is your town is, where you live. And that's comforting because you can see your own device, you can see where you live, you know that that's you. But then further down, if you see devices that you don't have or that you don't recognize, like it's not your granddaughter's device and etc., then that's a tip-off that there are other devices that you don't own that are accessing your Facebook page. So it's really helpful to see that. Now, what do you do if you see that, right? How do you get rid of those? So from that same location, which is that security and login page under settings, next to those lists that have this is the device and this is the town, there'll be 3 little dots that look like this. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's opposite ways. Yes.
Yeah. And it's the 3 little dots are on the right hand side of whatever it is the device is that you don't recognize. And if you click on that, Facebook will give you an option. And the option is not you, ? Or log out. So if you're not sure if it's you or if it's a family member or whatever, you can click on the not you ? And it'll prompt you further to figure that out. But in my opinion, the easiest thing to do is if you don't recognize it is just to say log out that device, because then whoever it is that's logged in under your name, they immediately get logged out and they have to log back in, which involves passwords and things like that, which hopefully you have secure.
Great. Okay.
So there's couple other things I want to mention, and one nice thing that you should always do is go and look under that security and logins page. Facebook has tried to streamline it, make it easy for us to understand what's going on there. So there are some checkup little devices you can click on, and they will take you through all those questions that make sure that you are safe and secure. So one of them is setting up extra security, which sends you a message if there's an unrecognized device that's accessing your account. Which is very helpful. And there's another one that says set up 2-factor identification. And that's especially nice if you're using your cell phone to look at Facebook, because if for some reason you log out and you log back in, or somebody else is trying to log back in, they will send you a code that you have to plug in order to log back in. And then they know for sure it's you. So that's called setting up 2-factor identification. And it's all under that list of security and login. So that's super helpful.
So you would recommend setting up the two-factor
I do it.
authentication?
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny because we usually stay logged in. It's rare that we log out and log back in again, unless it's by mistake or we've upgraded and we've got some new device that we're logging into. So it's rare that you're going to be prompted to enter those codes, but they're awfully nice to know that they're there in case for some reason you get logged out or somebody is looking and trying to log in. Unless they have those codes that pop up that you can enter, but they can't, it prevents them from logging in. So it's easy, it's quick. You don't have to do it very often, but it's awfully nice to have it.
Great. Oh my gosh, those are great tips. And I hope that folks watching us are, appreciating and can put some of those into action right after this broadcast. The other thing that comes to mind when we're talking about Facebook is that many people get their news on Facebook now. So, I mean, this isn't exactly a fraud or scam to you personally, but it's kind of related to an untruth that could be persuasive. So what do you do when you see something that potentially is not true in your Facebook feed?
Well, your intuition that tells you it might not be true is a really good thing. I would listen to your intuition. And if you want to look a little bit deeper before you determine whether or not it's something that's accurate news, what you can do is first of all, consider the source. Is this a reputable source of news that, is transparent? Do they, or is it sponsored? Sometimes you'll see something that's a sponsored ad, and that's usually involves somebody paying money to post this information, more like an advertisement to get you to do something than a news item. So look for something that says sponsored, and also look to see is it a clear mission statement that this particular entity who's posting this news thing, is that clear? Do you know who it's coming from? Is it something you don't recognize? So listen to your intuition about that. If it's somebody saying something like, experts have been hiding the truth, we've all seen those, right? Or secrets being revealed, that's like what they call clickbait to get you to look at it. And usually that is suspect as fake news. Another thing to do is to check your own bias, because a lot of times Facebook has algorithms that help them learn what you're interested in. And then you don't necessarily get the things that you're not tuned into. And sometimes your bias will make you believe things that are not exactly true. So ask yourself, are all the facts always in alignment with your opinion? And if they are, that could be suspect. Does it challenge you to keep an open mind? If it challenges you to keep an open mind, I think that's a good sign that it's maybe not fake news. So look for your own bias, and then check for manipulative techniques like lots of pop-up ads, anything that creates a super strong emotion in you that wants to get you to act, that'll make you feel, something tender in your heart. This is also typical of fraudsters. I know that they appeal to your emotion and what Gretchen was saying, that, we're kind people and we want to do the right thing, so check that, and then check facts. Compare what you've seen on Facebook with what is in on the web, other reputable type, news outlets. So is this the only place it's being reported? If you do a search for the same thing and in your search engine, do you get the similar story, or has it been altered to, slide the truth around to fit whatever their motive is? So those are some initial things that you can do, but trust your gut, because a lot of times, I've gotten better over the years at determining what's fake news and what's not, just by the way it's presented to me, so
Great.
that's helpful. Yeah.
Super. And I think that's a really good lead in too, to talking more about some of the other frauds and scams. And we had a cameo appearance here of my little one, Avery, because hey, you can't be too young to start thinking about these things. Thank you, Victoria. Victoria is also a volunteer with AARP North Carolina in the Mountain Region, and we appreciate you sharing your expertise with us here. We'll
Thanks.
say bye to Victoria, but continue on with Gretchen and talk more. There we are. So, Gretchen, let's talk a little bit more about some of the scams that are happening now, but also how that connects with age-old scams that are happening, throughout time.
Okay, well, I just learned a whole lot from Victoria. I don't use social media much at all. I find it takes a lot of time, so I've got, other commitments and so forth, but I learned a whole lot there. And she mentioned cloning in terms of Facebook pages and how people can clone yours. And it's interesting, last year before we all got shut down because of the virus, in DC, there was actually a conference on voice cloning. And that's really important because now if, people are quite generous exposing private information and on Facebook and other places, if they have any kind of verbal information, they talk, people can pick that up and clone their voice.
Oh my goodness.
And it's really important in the business world, but for the rest of us too. So now we're in the era right this moment because of the elections with phone calls. Oh, the phone is ringing off the hook. And I suggest to people that they don't answer the phone, even if they know it says on their caller ID that it's their best friend Susie or it's someone else. Say no, don't answer the phone. If they really want you, they'll leave a message. And that the fraudsters can really wiggle their way in through the phone. I've even gotten phone calls from my own phone number. So you can't trust what it says on the caller ID, because they'll say they're the Red Cross or, some reputable thing, and it could be fraudsters. And I know that it's pretty amazing. Technology is great, except when it isn't. Also, know that Medicare, Social Security, the IRS will not call you unless they've written to you before or you've called them. Because I'm sure everybody's gotten about 5 of the IRS calls. Or Social Security could call and say, hey, you're getting a cost of living increase, but you need to confirm your Social Security number. We want to be sure that you're going to get this cost of living increase. And the fraud. One of the things we sort of alluded to is we want you to share information that you're learning today. We want you to report information as frauds. And we also want you to shred important documents. It's amazing, Rebecca, the people that do dumpster diving and how all the very places they get your information. So these are some of the ways to protect yourself. Charity calls. Can you type for the bottom for me, Rebecca? CharityNavigator.org.
Yep.
There's many, we're coming into the holiday season, and that's when there's a lot of calls are reaching out for giving. And we're suggesting, rather than automatically give, check with Charity Navigator to see if your organization's registered. They cover about 9,500 organizations, and they tell you everything from what the CEO earns, quite educational, to how much money is spent on fundraising, to how much money really goes for the cause that they're saying they're supporting. And you want to be sure your money is going for what you want to support, not to pay the fundraisers or, the CEO obviously gets paid, but, sometimes you wonder how high their salaries are. And again, with charity, don't give cash through the mail. And another big fraud thing now is telling people go get gift cards. In fact, we just had an incident where somebody's email address book was hacked, and the fraudster sent out an email under her name and said, I have a friend with cancer and I promised to get her a gift card at Walmart and I can't get there. Could somebody help me? Well, of course, some nice person went and bought 3 $100 gift cards. And fortunately, she did not scratch off the part on the back where you can see the numbers, because usually they want you then to call up. They'll say, go out in the parking lot and I'll call you and you read those numbers to me. Once the money is gone, it's gone. And the gift cards are being abused all over the place. So be very, very careful with gift cards. And in fact, when you go to the store, you know how you see the racks of gift cards? Probably don't take the first or second one on the hook. Go back further and look at the card and be sure that nothing's been tampered with in that area with the code numbers. So gift cards are now the new way to get money. It used to be send us money through Western Union, but now gift cards. Yeah. Another thing I want to mention, and this comes mainly through the mail, but sweepstakes and lotteries. Remember how Vic said they appeal to your emotion? Like with charities, they tell you a sad story and makes you want to help out. But also, so there's the emotion of helping out or sadness. And then there's the emotion of excitement and, oh boy. And this revolves around romance scams. That's one of the biggest scams in North Carolina.
Wow.
And around sweepstakes and lotteries. And a friend of mine, I know you can't read it, but she got this. Let me see how I go this way. Yeah. She got this in the mail. And this happens to have come from Spain. And it's a big sweepstakes. And this person has won a lump sum of $4,500,000. And they're holding it in this person's name. And they're so excited. Congratulations, congratulations. And so you keep this confidential. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your family or friends. That's another warning sign, little red flag. And all you need to do is come to Spain and get this winnings. But they've got a contingency plan. If you can't come to Spain, they will get this money to you. But of course, there's a fee involved. And one of the things, so you say, oh boy, let's see, that was $4,500,000. I wonder if they had to pay taxes. Anyway, leaving that aside. So if you get something like this and they need you to pay a fee in order to transfer to whatever it is, and you pay the fee because after, well, $4,500,000 is a lot. So a $4,000 fee, that's nothing. So you pay that. Somehow you pay that. And guess what happens next? They just can't quite, there's a problem getting this money to you, and it's got to go through customs, and so you need to send some more money. But remember, $4,500,000. So and they can get incredible amounts of money from you. So scammers oftentimes, once they get you, they keep working on you, or they work in boiler rooms. So they'll tell somebody and they'll call and say, oh, I heard you got scammed out of whatever amount, and we're going to help you get that money back. And then they re-scam you. So the big deal here is just, I'm looking at the clock here. Share. When something happens, share the information. Don't just keep it to yourself. And you're a victim. You're not stupid. You've been a victim of a crime. report it to the police, to your friends, to the sheriff's office, and again, shred documents. Don't just throw them in the wastebasket. And because dumpster divers, it's hard to believe, but it's true.
So there we have the little cha-cha of the share,
Report. Share.
I have them a little out of order. Just a little brain health check.
In my head.
They're always different. Just you remember watching here today that, report, shred, share. And if it feels wrong in your gut, it probably is. So that wraps up today's show with our stars, AARP North Carolina fraud fighting volunteers, Gretchen Batra and Victoria. And know that we are here. If you would like to do additional episodes and have topics that might be of interest, feel free to write those into the comment section, or you can always contact me. I will go ahead and quickly put an email address up at the bottom of the screen. I'm Rebecca Chaplin, Associate State Director with AARP North Carolina in the Mountain Region, and you can go ahead and send us an email and let us know about topics that would be of interest to you, because we're here. Our goal is to help you have financial security and resilience, and preventing fraud is a great way to get there. So thank you, Gretchen, and thank you for watching today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.